Sidewalk, wishing, Lord, that I was stoned. There's something in a Sunday that makes the body feel alone. Well, there's nothing short of dying, half as lonesome as the sound of a sleeping city sidewalk, Sunday morning coming down. In the park I saw a daddy with a laughing little girl. He was swinging, and I stepped beside a Sunday school to listen to the song they were singing. Well, I headed back for home, and somewhere far away a lonely bell was ringing. And it echoed through the canyon like the disappearing dreams of yesterday. On a Sunday morning sidewalk, wishing, Lord, that I was stoned. 'Cause there's something in a Sunday that makes a body feel alone. And there's nothing short of dying, half as lonesome as the sound of a sleeping city sidewalk, Sunday morning coming down.
I believe that was written by General Christopherson's son.
That is correct, yeah, and maybe made famous by the Man in Black, but one of several songs written by Christopherson that just floor me. To Beat the Devil is another one. I just can't believe that song.
For me, it's For the Good Times.
Yeah.
Oh,
right.
man, that song just
Right.
tears me up. You talk about poetry and music.
Yeah, it's great. It's simple. It's and straightforward, but just drenched with significance too. You know, I mean, it's
right.
just so good.
And you probably heard the story about Johnny Cash's first performance of it at the Opry. They didn't want him saying being
Getting
stoned.
Yeah.
But when he did, that was mighty pleasing to the author because he was there to hear it. And break down those barriers.
Yeah.
Matthew, what do we have next?
Well, I'm going to go back and play another original here. This is a song based on a tragedy that I were witness to when my wife and I were living out in Wyoming. This is called Flanagan's Last Ride. On the evening before, we're all red from the pace, build up to ran through. That's a working man's face. We all take it all the same, but yours always remain. We sit in the dirt in the shadows of our toil and drink until the blue of the sky has in our dark eyes. Then we all drive back to town for Flanagan's last ride. Cold rivers of night, right. On the next day, rumor is a word, but it is absence that gives it away. And when the cops come around, we all know what went down. A man entered the river, the rumors headed south. Two boys and a wife at home, you build up to the night that you lose. Over and through a body of water needs you for Flanagan's last ride. Cold rivers of night, Flanagan's last ride. There is no meaning, only a last ride. Well, Flanagan's last ride. Cold rivers of night, Flanagan's last ride. The worst part of dying is not knowing when it's your time.
So many of your songs today are relevant to what Marshall and Chuck and I were talking about before you came in.
What's that?
We were just addressing things about, hey, we come so close to death sometimes. We remember those times, but just by luck, here we are.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of that. One of my songs that you played earlier in the 11 o'clock hour, called "Not All There," has a verse in it that's about a time I fell through the ice when I was a little kid, and nobody knows how long I was under the ice, and I only survived because my mom, you know, came and pulled me out eventually. But you know, from that moment forward in my life, and maybe as a life of a boy living in other eras where we just had so much freedom to go out and see how close we could get to hurting ourselves. And so yeah, there's a lot of that. And that story there, you know, is a terrible tragedy about a really sweet guy who I worked with. I worked construction for a lot of years, and we never did this on this particular job, but one day the super let us get some beer and sit around and drink some beer on the job site after we got done working that day. And Dave Flanagan got in his 1979 Bronco and drove it into the Snake River that night and didn't survive. You know, so it's a bit of a cautionary tale, but
and we never know when it's our turn, do
we never know. It's the worst part.
Yeah.
Or the best part.
Here we are. Yeah, here we are.
Enough of that. Enough doom and
Okay,
gloom.
what do we have?
Well, we'll change the tone here a little bit and go with something. It's just a little more fun. This is a song I've been playing lately that's just a fun one called Broken Boulevards. The only art I ever understood was a guy who served me beer. Art understood himself pretty damn well. He hadn't changed in 30-some years. The only charity I ever received was a dancer at the club. When charity took the floor, everybody fell in love, in love, in love. Well, these are my people, The only bill I ever paid was a drunk who helped me move. To get Bill to get to work, you had to buy him a drink before noon. The only destiny I ever had, clean rooms at the motel. When Destiny left town for the West Coast, she told us all to go to hell, to hell, to hell. Well, these are my people, my kind of people, working these broken boulevards. The only gym I ever joined was to smoke a joint. Most nights you could find Jim out back, ready to anoint. The only faith I've ever maintained was a hooker from Carbondale. Faith, she wasn't much of a looker, but she could get you out of jail, of jail, of jail. Well, these are my people, my kind of people, working these broken boulevards. The only mat I've ever stepped on happened to be myself. Matt, he needed a good swift kick to be of any help. The only hope I've ever known was homeless looking for a meal. I took her in, she became my best friend. Hope is the real deal, deal, deal. Here we go. These are my people, my kind of people, working these broken boulevards. Again, these are my people, my kind of people, working these broken boulevards. These are my kind of people, working these broken boulevards. Broken boulevards, working these broken boulevards.
A hooker in Carbondale, you say? I guess I didn't run into her.
I'll tell you off air.
Okay. Good song, man.
Thanks.
We have about 10 minutes yet. That's enough for about 3 more tunes, isn't it?
Well, or with mine, maybe 2, but
Okay,
I know I can fit 2 in there, and the two I have in mind, we'll see how it goes.
Oh, by the way, I have to ask you a question. I was looking through your photos on Facebook, and I happened to notice your profile picture is you with a young boy.
Oh yeah, that's our son Dash, who's 10, and
What a good age.
Good age. He's such a good kid too. It's a lot of fun.
At 10 years old, I think we start understanding quite a bit about life.
Yeah, it's frightening to us how much he understands about life, and it feels like he understands a whole lot more than we did. And we can't tell if that's just a generational thing, like he does understand more about life than we did when we were that age, or if it's just one of those phenomena of aging where things just seem that way in hindsight. But yeah, he's awfully aware of what's going on.
And that growing up process that you get to witness happens so quickly, doesn't it?
Well, it does, and it's a cliche. Everybody says it, right? But until you're kind of in the midst of it and experiencing it as a parent, you don't really get what that feels like. And I would say in the past couple of years for Holly and I, that's probably started to settle in. And part of that comes, too, with this sort of rapid intellectual and emotional maturation that, happens for kids when they're... he's in 4th grade. He's still a kid, but man, it's frightening how much he gets already.
A lot of information out there that is very accessible to everybody now.
I guess that's got to be part of it, right? Yeah.
Perhaps, but when it's happening to us when we were that age, it seemed like eternity. Every day was so long.
Yeah, and most of
the growing up process just took a long time.
He's an only child. We live out in the country. He spends a lot of time with us, and we don't really deny him. If he asks us a smart question, he gets a real answer. Whereas, when I was a kid, my parents are great, but I spent a lot of time just out running with my friends, and so it was a different kind of education, I guess.
And I was an only child. That's why my mother named me Lonesome.
You hardly hardly seem to fit the moniker, really.
Okay, what do we have next, Matt?
All right, this is a song about this this guitar I'm holding, this 1999 Martin D15 that my wonderful wife Holly bought for me. It's called Used Guitar. Pick up that old used guitar from where it lives against the wall. Traded with a drunk in the midnight hour. He said, like my old woman ain't no use no more. Pick up that old used guitar. You talk to her when you come home from the bar. Play a little tune and stare at the fire. Just hold her in your arms when you get tired. Pick up that old used guitar. She's had more owners than she can recall. For makers in the earth, for the better or the worse. The men who played it don't know her worth. Pick up that old used guitar. She'll make you feel younger than you really are. Every time something new comes out of you, you wonder just who owns who. Pick up that old used guitar. Saved your life many times so far. Every time you play her, one thing rings true. She makes you better than you really are. So pick up that old used guitar. We'll pick up that old used guitar. She'll make you better than you really are. She'll make you better than you really are. She'll make you better than you really are. That old used guitar.
And that's a mighty fine guitar you have there, too.
Yeah, I love this guitar, thank you.
Yeah, doesn't Martin make a nice product?
They do, and
Always
it was,
have, and evidently they always will.
I hope so, yeah. And this was a real treat for me to. That song's been around longer than I've had this guitar. I wrote that song a number of years ago about older guitars, I guess, and then here recently, when I didn't really have the money to afford this particular guitar, Holly and Dash surprised me with it, and that's actually where that photo on my Facebook page comes from of me and Dash as they gave this to me as a kind of surprise gift, which was really cool.
Yeah, everything about that is looks great. The guitar and the people. Let's do one more, Matt.
I'm having a little this tuner's kind of...
No problem. You know,
I'm almost there.
I often repeat this, but I heard this from Dan Hicks in his live show. He had to stop and tune up. And he said, hey, you know, the Grateful Dead can play for 12 hours and never tune up. He says, I'm not that good.
Nor am I. So this next song is a brand new one. I'm kind of debuting it here. About a good friend of mine, and about something that I think a lot of people will recognize as being kind of familiar. This is called "The King of Late Nights." Here we are again, living for the weekends. Nothing better than hanging out with old friends. Later on, when we get all the kids put to bed, we'll go out back and party hard in his shed. Well, here he reigns, the king of late nights. He drinks and he smokes and he talks and he jokes until first light. He's the king of late nights, the king of late nights. He's the king of late nights, the king of late nights. Well, none of us are young anymore. The next day we are weary, haggard, and poor. But not the king, he is fresh as a dirty joke. He laughs and he coughs and he lights up the smoke, and he takes the day by the throat, and thus he reigns, the king of late nights. When challengers attempt a coup, but none can sustain the fight with the king of late nights, the king of late nights, the king of late nights, the king of late nights. It's 3 in the morning and the king of late nights is passed out in a chair. AM radio, ashtray twang, hanging in the air. His workbench is a wasteland of empty bottles and cans. Turns out the king's queen is the last standing man. Well, now she reigns, the queen of late nights. Well, long live the queen, long live the queen of late nights. Well, long live the queen, long live the queen of late nights. Rules your party like she rules your life, the queen of late nights. Well, long live the queen and long live the king. Oh, our good times, all of our good times. The king and queen of all of our good times. The king and queen of all of our good times.
All right, Matt Garrison, enjoyed it so much, we'll have to do it again.
Please, I would love to. Thanks so much
and
for having
your
me.
music, not only for your food, but for your music.
I'll bring food again, I promise.
All right, thanks. And be sure and stay tuned for Kent McDaniel and Down